All right, YouTube. Judging upon what you see here in front of you, which is a vintage G.I. Joe toy box footlocker thing, which I'm very lucky to own, can you guess what I will be opening on this episode of Vintage Toy Freedom? If you guessed a G.I. Joe figure, you would be correct. It's been a little while since I opened the Joe figure. I kind of held off on this one because I was a little hesitant because this is a cool figure and it's on the card, obviously, because I'm willing to open it, and that's kind of what I do here. But I said, you know what, Mr. Wetsuit, the Navy SEAL, the G.I. Joe Battle Corps, he has been in his plastic prison for 27 years. I had to do a little bit of math there. It's 2020 now. And he was released in 1992, 28, sorry, because, yeah, there was 91 and 92, the different wetsuits. So the other one was yellow. And so the trim was yellow, all that was yellow. This one's obviously orange. So this was a cool figure. I had the yellow version when I was a kid. Obviously he's cool because he's got his helmet, he's got his flippers, a spear gun, and the sled that actually shoots missiles, and then the other two kind of combine on the bottom. So really cool figure, a lot going on here, fun to play with, looks cool with his helmet on. He just kind of looks like a normal guy without the helmet on, but gotta have the helmet. So he's all here, and he has the mini comic in there. Those mini comics are pretty cool. They did 4 of those, so different years. G.I. Joe figures had different inserts, so some had battle ribbons, which are actually pretty hard to find, the rings. What else did they have? Rings, comics, battle ribbons, oh, the minifigures, duh. And I think some might have had face paint. So, this was kind of the last thing they did in the 92 and I think 93 year was have the mini comic in there. So, we're going to free Brian Forrest from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, from his prison. So, here we go. I'm going to be quiet for a minute just so you can hear the sound of a vintage G.I. Joe action figure being opened. So I don't know if it makes you laugh or cry or smile, I'm not sure. So some mail away stuff right there. We have the aforementioned mini comic. This one is Jungle Fury, still written by Larry Hama, who wrote all the original G.I. Joe comics, 155 issues, which is pretty insane. But if you've never read the comics, I highly recommend them. They're good stuff. So there's that. That's cool to have. And here is a wetsuit. So this is version, I guess, well, because there was wetsuit and then there was the Special Mission Brazil. I think this is wetsuit version 4. So let's see if we can hear some of that plastic crack that we all love. Yeah, you heard it there on the knees. So a little bit. This one doesn't have as much as others. O-ring still very tight. Sometimes you'll see, and it's very unfortunate, you'll see where even in the package the O-ring broke and they're kind of like in half there, and that always sucks. So there he is on the stand. You don't really need the stand for him because he has these cool flippers. And obviously the flippers can't go on the stand, so you kind of have an extra stand there. We have his helmet, which is technically an airtight underwater helmet with 360-degree radar. So a little bit more than just a helmet. And these are technically snug fit deep water flippers, just in case you were wondering. Here's his gun, which is a hydro-charged undersea spear rifle. It's a bit of a mouthful. The quote here says, "Well, with all due respect, nobody told me not to blow it up, sir." Waka waka. Having a little trouble standing on the carpet. There you go. So there he is all geared up, minus, obviously, his sled, which is technically a low-drag nautical jet sled with heads-up display. So I didn't know that. So technically, I guess it makes sense here that that's supposed to be like there's a monitor on there and buttons, but obviously you just got to use your imagination. So kind of cool. There's different ways to play with this. So obviously he can't really, I guess you could have the gun in one hand like he does in the package and then holding the sled on the other, but let's see here. Put the missile in there, pull the trigger, kapow. But again, what's nice is the sled, the low drag nautical jet sled with heads up display, can hold the missiles, which are technically high impact delayed detonation torpedoes. So they all fit nice and snug on there. And you can take him and hopefully not break his thumbs. These ones, I don't usually have problems with that, but he's been sitting in a hermetically sealed prison all these years, so who knows? The sunlight sometimes does damage to the plastic and it gets brittle. All right, so now here's where it gets a little weird. Obviously, trying to finagle him on there where he's holding both handles on the sled can be a little tricky, but you can make it work. And there he is. He's on his sled. He's going to get this stuff out of the way. So he's ready to go fight some underwater Cobra baddies. So maybe like Undertow or Hydro Viper or, the Cobra Bug with Secto Viper. A Cobra Eel or two. So pretty cool. A pretty cool figure. I mean, I know some people aren't big fans of some of the later stuff, the Battle Core, and some of these are a little strange. Bazooka, Cross Country, Iceberg. Alley Viper's pretty awesome. The Heat Viper's pretty awesome. Flak Viper's cool. The Roadblock's cool. You can see here, that's actually the recalled version. So that little projectile thing had been recalled. So if you find that, that's really hard to find. He came with a different gun too, so those are very hard to find. And then so you have Battle Core, Ninja Force, DEF. So they're getting a little weird at this point in 92, 93. But I think this one's pretty solid. I'm more of a fan of the yellow one, maybe just because that's what I had when I was a kid, or because it was the first one that came out before this one. But both of them are still very cool, very fun to have, and I'm happy to open it. Hopefully you're happy to watch this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of Mr. Wetsuit here. Did you have this? Did you have the yellow one? Which one do you like better? Do you think he looks cool? See now, because I kind of had to push his hand open to hold onto that handle there, the gun doesn't fit into his hand. So be careful with that. It still kind of fits in this hand. So the only thing I think that might make this better is if there was a backpack peg, so he could carry it like that. Because otherwise, it just kind of, he doesn't really have it. He can't really hold on to it or anything like that. So I think that'd be kind of cool if, it wouldn't have been that hard to put a peg there. Then he could kind of carry his sled around. He could handle that. He looks like. He kind of looks like a Centurion right there. If you're familiar with the Kenner Centurion lines, he kind of had the mask. I don't know why I've just now noticed it, but he just reminded me of a Kenner Centurion. So thanks for watching. Now you know more about this figure. Knowing he's half the battle. The other half of the battle is opening and playing with your toys and having fun with them.